All right, everybody, welcome back. PTS, Frank Lee, and Dan Hudock. How we doing?
Hey, good.
Good, good. Let's talk about relationships. And this comes out of, and I think we've all experienced this, just time makes it happen. But at one of the graduations I was at this weekend, the speaker was talking about the power of relationships and how much life is about who you know, and the big value in speaking to, he positioned it initially as speaking to people you don't know, and then he shifted it to talking to strangers. And he shared a very personal experience about something that he did, speaking to somebody, oddly enough, who he worked for at the time, but didn't know him. And having that engagement and stepping out of what was comfortable a little bit, but also starting to get to know somebody, changed his life. This person who looked out for him for years became a bit of a mentor for him, and it changed everything. So can we talk about that, talking to strangers and the power of relationships and the reality that, like it or not, life is about who you know? So Lee, you want to kick us off in that realm?
I don't think this could be more accurate. Your skills and your education will take you places, but nowhere near as far as the relationships that you develop.
Yeah.
For me, a perfect example is when I decided to strike out on my own. I had been a vice president of marketing at a pretty large nonprofit, and I was really fortunate because it was a great job where I met a million people of all different levels of influence. And I'm 4 years now doing my own consulting work, and I've never lacked for work. Every time I go to update my resume or my website, I start working on it and a new job comes in without having to really do anything. And I feel very, very fortunate for that. But it's because, I want to, there is a piece where when you work around a ton of people and you get to meet a lot of people, um, you know, there's a difference between sort of acquaintances and people that you develop relationships with.
Yep.
And I think I really pride myself in that I have a lot of great relationships that are genuine and friendly. And, one of the pieces of work that I do is public relations. And to get a story in a newspaper is not always easy. Um, but when you know the reporter and you like them and you have a genuine relationship with them, it can be a lot easier.
Yeah.
So I cannot speak enough about the power of genuine relationships and developing as many as you can.
What about on your side, Dan?
Sometimes things don't always go well, and you learn from that.
Yeah.
So this was personal reflection. A couple months ago, I was in one of the local grocery stores, and as I was coming out of my car, there was an older lady walking to the store, and I thought I recognized her. So I came up behind her and I said, "Hey, I think I know you." And she turned around and she said, "Really?" And we started talking. And shortly after we started talking, I realized I don't know her. So then I said, "I'm really sorry. I don't know you. Perhaps sometime our paths will cross again." And she said, "Well, that's disappointing because I thought we would have a really good conversation."
Oh,
Huh.
And I didn't have time to converse. I had to get into the store and get out, right? So I did that. And since that moment in time, I thought, well, why don't I have the time for those stranger interactions? Because I busied myself too much. And so I'm consciously now trying to make a point. If I have that interaction with a stranger, to take the time and the effort to just enjoy it and go with it and don't worry about the busyness of life.
Yeah, and I think it's also, we're at a stage of our careers, the three of us, where it starts to work now in reverse, where people want to get to know us a little bit to better understand how we may help them. And so we become a little bit more of that mentor role at times, not just looking to get to know others to sort of expand our realm, but in essence returning the favor to some degree. And there's a lot of value in doing that. And Lee, you've touched on this a few times now in some of our conversations about engage and help and support. And that younger generation has a lot to offer, but we also have a lot to offer them. So can you just touch on briefly, not just trying to get to know others, but playing that role of a little bit of a mentor as well.
Yeah, absolutely. It's funny. One of the first times somebody reached out and just asked, could we connect? And I was like, oh, she might have worked for me. Yeah, sure, that'd be cool. And we connected, and she just wanted to talk and gain my knowledge. And you would have thought I would have been disappointed, but I was so flattered. And one of the cool things is regularly in my jobs over the years, I've worked with interns, and
Sure.
I have learned as much from some interns, hands down. But the sort of the benefits that pays forward is incredible. To get to see what these young people do. Um, there's a really good saying, and I feel like it happens a lot among women more than anyone else, but it's the idea that you should associate yourself with women who say your name when you're not in the room.
Hmm.
Um, and the idea that they talk you up when you're not
Yeah.
there.
Yeah.
And I try to do that regularly with young people in particular, to give them opportunities and help them to continue, hire them to do, projects with me and things
Sure.
along those lines. And I think it's
Sure.
incredibly valuable in that arena as well.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's
What
not
have
a
you seen on that mentor side, Dan?
Well, I think it starts with quit looking at ourselves so much.
Yeah.
It's, you know,
Yeah.
it's instead of waking up going, well, how can I be blessed today? Why don't we wake up and go, well, how can I bless somebody else today? And it sounds simple, but really that's it. Just shift the mindset.
Yeah. Yeah. I think the point you made about interns, Lee, we had, since I've been here at PT, we've had one intern over the years, and she worked with my team, and I will always speak fondly of her. Her name's Autumn. She went to Point Park, and I track and follow her, and once in a while I check in on her, but we learned as much from her as she learned from us in that process. And some of the things we do today are directly influenced by things she brought. So it's
million
it's
percent.
definitely a two-way street.
It is. It absolutely is. Well, and just one more point to that, which is going back to the idea of it is never too early to start making those good relationships. Because if you
Yep.
think about what you have done for interns and what I've done for other interns and helping them to get other positions and other jobs, like, you know, 19 is not too early to start developing relationships that can benefit you later in life.
No doubt. All right, everybody. See you again tomorrow.
Take care.